All right, CCB groups, it's me again, asking, do you have a project plan for your serve day on November 20th? Our desire is that God would use CCV to demonstrate the love of Christ to our city. And these projects, they can be as personal as serving an individual or a family, or as big as serving a large organization like a school or another nonprofit organization. We need every group to submit their projects by Saturday, October 2nd. And here's a list of some of the details that we'll need from every group. We need a project name. We'd like to know who the project leader is for your group. We'd like to know a specific time and a date that your project's going to take place, along with a description and supplies that your group will need to execute this project. And we'd like to know if your group is kid-friendly, and then how many people could sign up for this project. And coaches, submit your projects to your group toolbox. And once submitted, we'll open it up to everyone else in our entire church that's not a part of a group so that our entire church can participate together in showing our city that we are for the valley. So before we begin our group discussion, take a few minutes to finalize and talk through your project plan together.
Hey, I have this rule in my life that I've discovered whenever something bad happens, something better is around the corner. I mean, I can't tell you how many times like a flight has gotten canceled. I'm going, oh man. And then I get on a better flight and I'm upgraded. It's just crazy. So I've learned that instead of saying when something happens I don't like, instead of saying, oh man, I say, hey, God, what's coming next? We're going to see that play out in God's faithfulness in the life of Joseph. A couple of weeks ago, I talked about Joseph in prison, and I just left him in prison. And then this last week, Ashley got him out of prison. Clearly, he's a nicer person than me. But put yourself in Joseph's shoes. You've been in prison for several years, and now suddenly you're released from prison. Actually, you don't have to put yourself in his shoes. You kind of know what that's like. And I want you to share it with the group. Share a time that you got a promotion or were elevated on a team. What led up to that? Okay, principle number 1 for this week's lesson, training for greater things always takes place in lesser things. Jesus put it this way, whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. And whoever's dishonest with very little will also be dishonest with much. Joseph was leading in jail. He was in prison. He was leading there far before he got called to the palace. In fact, it's recorded in Genesis 40, verse 4. The captain of the guard assigned to them Joseph, and he attended them after they'd been in custody for some time. Don't complain about where you are until you're all you can be right where you are. You may be in a space right now that will develop your skills for the next season of life. So rather than looking at your situation now and going, oh man, maybe you should look to God and go, hey, God, what do I need to learn from this so that I can be prepared for the better that you're going to bless me with? So here's question number 2. How have you seen this principle play out in your own life? Detours nearly always include a test. And if you don't pass the test, you don't get past the detours. I want to show you how that looked in Joseph's life. He had 3 dreams, according to Genesis. Dream number 1, this is chapter 37. He had a dream that his brothers would bow down to him. And later that his parents would even bow down to him, which was totally true. But the way he managed it was terrible. He said to them, listen to this dream I had. We were binding sheaves of grain out in the field when suddenly my sheaf rose and stood up while your sheaves gathered around mine and bowed down to it. Oh, brother. His brothers hated him already. Now they despised him even more. He took what should have been a blessing and he turned it into a curse because of his own arrogance. Dream number 2, he's in prison. And a couple guys are put into his custody. One was a baker of the Pharaoh, and the other was his food taster or wine taster. He would taste the wine, taste the food before Pharaoh ate it, make sure it's not poison. Okay, so they have a dream. Chapter 40. We both had dreams, they answered, but there is no one to interpret them. Then Joseph said to them, do not interpretations belong to God? Tell me your dream. Tell me your dream. It belongs to God, but tell me your dream. Do you see the progression? It's not all about me. It's about God. And I can help you because I know God. That's a step in the right direction. But watch what happens in the 3rd dream, Genesis 41. Pharaoh has a dream. Joseph is brought to him and says, can you interpret the dream? I cannot do it, Joseph replied to Pharaoh, but God will give Pharaoh the answer he desires. He is totally out of the picture now. First, it's all about him, then it's mostly about God, and then it's all about God. If you take that same progression through your detour, you will put yourself in a position that God can put you in a position of leadership. So here's the second principle. The length of our detour is often dependent on our personal growth. How long is it going to take you to learn the lessons that God has for you? Now, don't be in a hurry and don't be too hard on yourself. It took Moses 40 years in the wilderness. It took Abraham 25 years from the time he was called by God till the time his son was born. It took David 25 years from the time he was anointed king to the time he sat on the throne over all of Israel. Don't rush out of the desert. Do not leave the detour until you've learned the lesson of the detour. Otherwise, you will be unprepared for the leadership that God wants to put you in. So, question number 3. How have you seen this principle played out in your own life or in the life of someone close to you? Specifically, how do we prolong detours because we don't learn the lessons in times of trials? The only way past the test is to surrender and align yourself with God's will. You have to trust that the present crisis is preparation for future success. That mindset will put you in a posture of an apprentice of God, so that instead of regretting what has happened, you will celebrate what God is giving you an opportunity for. Instead of going, oh man, you look up to God and say, hey God, what do I need to learn here? So here's the challenge. What skill or attitude do you need to grow in now so that you can take full advantage of the area of influence or promotion you are asking God to give you?